You have been told your whole life to be good, to be kind, to forgive, to give people the benefit of the doubt. Yet why do the kindest people end up betrayed? Why do the most generous hearts break the hardest? Today, we uncover the truth society hides from you. Goodness, without power, destroys the one who holds it. Let us begin with a truth you may already feel, but have never dared to speak. You were raised to believe that being good is always the right thing, that kindness is noble, that patience is virtuous, that to give, to tolerate, and to understand is the higher path. Yet in reality, goodness without limit does not make a person admired, it makes them vulnerable. And in the eyes of the world, vulnerability is an invitation to be taken advantage of, to be overlooked, to be consumed. Imagine a person who always says yes. At first, others appreciate them. They seem caring, helpful, generous. But over time, their yes becomes expected. Their kindness becomes obligation. Their generosity becomes a resource to drain. And once they have nothing left to give, once the well of their patience has run dry, they are not rewarded for their sacrifices. They are abandoned. This is the tragedy of goodness without strength. It is not that goodness is wrong. It is that goodness, when practiced blindly, becomes a silent promise that you will allow yourself to be used. Machiavelli understood this with a clarity that unsettled the world. He did not hate goodness. He did not dismiss compassion, but he saw how these qualities, when displayed without boundaries, became weaknesses that more ruthless men exploited. He watched leaders who sought peace fall to those who sought power. He watched kind rulers trust their enemies and lose their kingdoms. He watched gentle souls believe that their purity would protect them, not realizing that purity is invisible to those who hunger for control. To be good in a world full of ambition is to walk into a battlefield unarmed. People who are too forgiving become the ones who are betrayed most deeply. People who are too patient become the ones who are taken for granted. People who never raise their voice become the ones no one listens to. This is not because the world is evil, but because the world is pragmatic. It responds to strength. It respects boundaries. It trusts those who can protect themselves, not those who rely on the goodwill of others to survive. When a person is too good, they try to save everyone. They carry burdens that are not theirs. They fix problems that others created. They give chances to those who have already shown they do not deserve them. And the more they give, the more they are expected to give. Their identity becomes caretaker. Their needs become secondary. Their emotional world becomes a storage for the pain of others. And slowly they begin to disappear inside themselves. Not because they lack love, but because they lack defense. Machiavelli would say that goodness is a strategy, not a default setting. To be good should be a choice, not a compulsion. The moment goodness becomes automatic, it stops being noble. It becomes self-erasure. True goodness requires awareness. Awareness of who is deserving. Awareness of who is manipulative. Awareness of when giving heals and when giving harms. A person who is good because they choose to be has power. But a person who is good because they fear the consequences of saying no has already surrendered their power. The world is full of people who appear kind but harbor resentment because they never learned how to protect themselves. They resent being ignored, but never learned to speak with authority. They resent being drained, but never enforced boundaries. They resent being taken advantage of, but continued to make themselves available. They believe that by giving more, they will eventually be valued, but respect is not earned by sacrifice. Respect is earned by self-possession. To be good without being weak is to understand the value of your time, your presence, your energy, your emotions. It is to give but with intention. It is to love but with discernment. It is to forgive, but without forgetting the lesson. It is to say yes when it aligns with your integrity, and to say no when it protects your peace. Goodness becomes powerful only when it is paired with the ability to withhold it. The river is beautiful because it flows, but it is respected because it can also flood. Listen carefully, because what comes next is one of the most uncomfortable truths about human nature. We are taught from childhood that the world values goodness, that society rewards kindness, humility, and moral purity, that if you are virtuous, you will be respected. But this is not how the world truly works. People admire virtue, yes, but they follow power. They respect strength. They align themselves with those who can protect, assert, decide, and lead. Machiavelli saw this in the courts of Florence, among kings, popes, generals, and scholars. He observed that a virtuous man who cannot defend himself is ignored, overshadowed, or eventually destroyed. Meanwhile, a strong leader, even if ruthless, commands attention, fear, and loyalty. Look around you. History is filled with names remembered not because they were good, but because they were powerful. People may write poems for saints, but they build statues for conquerors. And this does not mean that people are cruel. It means they respond to certainty, to direction, to the presence of someone who knows what they want and does not hesitate to pursue it. The world moves under those who move with intention. The mistake many good people make is believing that goodness alone is enough. They believe that if they are kind, others will be kind back. If they are patient, others will appreciate them. If they are giving, others will reciprocate. But human behavior does not operate on balance. It operates on perceived value. People respect what they feel they cannot easily replace. Kindness without strength is common. Softness without boundaries is everywhere. But someone who is kind and strong, gentle yet firm, loving but not naïve, that is rare. And rarity commands value. Machiavelli often wrote that a ruler should strive to be loved and feared, but if forced to choose, fear is more reliable. Because love is conditional, love changes, love fades in the presence of convenience. But fear secures obedience. Fear creates stability. Fear establishes order. Now, this does not mean you must become terrifying or cruel. Machiavelli is not asking you to harm others. The fear he refers to is not brutality. It is presence. It is the impression that you are not someone who can be manipulated. It is the quiet strength that communicates, "I will not be taken advantage of." It is the unspoken assertion that your boundaries are made of stone, not paper. People study your reactions more than your intentions. If you let others speak over you, they learn that your voice does not need to be heard. If you allow disrespect without consequence, they learn that your dignity is negotiable. If you constantly apologize for simply existing, they learn that you are a person who be placed beneath them. But when you speak with clarity and calm authority, even if you are soft-spoken, people adjust, they change their tone, they become careful, they become aware of the weight you carry, and they respect it. You do not need to shout to be powerful. Power is not loud. Power is not aggressive. Power is the ability to say no without guilt, to walk away without fear, to express your truth without trembling. Power is silent confidence. It is the knowledge that you do not need approval to validate your worth. A powerful person does not beg for understanding. They express themselves and let others decide how to receive it. A powerful person does not compete for attention. Their presence draws attention by itself. Virtue without strength is fragile, but strength without virtue is directionless. The balance lies in being capable of both, to show kindness where it is deserved and restraint where it is not. To care for others without allowing yourself to disappear, to give without becoming a servant, to forgive without inviting repeated harm. It is easy to be good when the world is gentle. True moral character is revealed when the world becomes harsh. And in those moments, it is not innocence that protects you. It is power. There is a truth that most people are too afraid to confront. A truth that Machiavelli did not avoid, but spoke openly, boldly, and unapologetically. To protect what is good, you may sometimes have to do what looks bad. Not because cruelty is noble, not because harm is honorable, but because the world is not governed by ideals. It is governed by reality, pressure, and consequence. The road to preserving peace is not always peaceful. The path to maintaining order is not always gentle. If you wish to do good, you must understand that goodness alone cannot protect itself. Without strength, without boundaries, without decisive action, goodness is devoured by those who hunger for power. Imagine a kingdom ruled by a kind and merciful leader. A leader who values compassion above all else. He forgives those who betray him, believing they will change. He grants mercy to enemies who have sworn to destroy him. He gives second chances endlessly, thinking kindness will heal hatred. But the world does not reward softness with loyalty, and soon the traitors return stronger. The enemies regroup, the wolves test the gates, and the kingdom falls. Not because the ruler was bad, but because he refused to do what appeared bad in order to protect what was truly good. Machiavelli understood this with chilling clarity. He observed that sometimes a leader must act in ways that are misunderstood, judged, or condemned in order to prevent greater suffering. The surgeon must cut to heal. The general must fight to defend. The parent must discipline to guide. A ruler must enforce consequences to preserve stability, and an individual must sometimes step into discomfort to protect their peace. There is a difference between cruelty and calculated action. Cruelty seeks to harm for personal pleasure or ego, but calculated action seeks to prevent future pain, betrayal, or chaos. The world often praises visible kindness and criticizes visible firmness, yet it quietly depends on the firmness to survive. The police officer who stops violence is judged for force. The leader who enforces rules is judged for rigidity. The individual who cuts off toxic relationships is judged for coldness. But without these actions, destruction would spread. Goodness without protection invites predators. The world is full of those who will take as long as you give, Who will drain as long as you allow? Who will deceive as long as you trust blindly? To protect your heart, your peace, your goals, your identity, you must sometimes be willing to disappoint others. You must sometimes be willing to say no when others expect highs. You must sometimes be willing to walk away when others demand you stay. And you must sometimes be willing to remove people from your life who only come to feed, not to contribute. This is not cruelty. This is preservation. Weakness fears judgment. Strength accepts it. Because strength knows that temporary disapproval is far better than permanent regret. Machiavelli taught that a leader should not strive to be hated, but they should also not fear being disliked. For the fear of being disliked is the chain that binds the powerful to the expectations of the weak. If your goodness requires you to sacrifice yourself, then your goodness is no longer virtue, it is surrender. And surrender invites domination. Sometimes protecting your peace will look selfish to those who benefited from your lack of boundaries. Sometimes defending your dignity will look aggressive to those who were comfortable controlling you. And sometimes choosing what is right for your future will look like betrayal to those who only valued you for what you provided them. Do not let appearances deceive you. Appearances are manipulated, twisted, repackaged by those who fear losing access to you. Doing what appears bad does not mean becoming heartless. It means becoming strategic. It means understanding that mercy given to the wrong person leads to suffering for the right one. That forgiveness without accountability guarantees repeated harm. That patience without limits becomes permission for disrespect. A good person who cannot say no becomes a tool. A kind person who cannot confront wrongdoing becomes an accomplice. A forgiving person who never learns to walk away becomes a captive. There are moments when your silence will harm you more than conflict. Moments when your tolerance will cost you more than confrontation. Moments when being agreeable will destroy what you were trying to protect. In these moments, you must act, not impulsively, not with rage, but with clear intention, grounded principle, and unwavering resolve. There is a difference between being moral and being naive, yet many people confuse the two and destroy themselves because of it. Society teaches you to be good without teaching you how to protect that goodness. You are told to be honest, forgiving, understanding, and open-hearted, but no one tells you how to guard your heart. No one tells you how to recognize manipulation disguised as sincerity. No one teaches you how to offer kindness without letting others feed on your spirit. This is where Machiavelli's lesson cuts through the illusions we are raised with. Morality is not supposed to be innocent. Morality is supposed to be intentional, strategic, wise. The world behaves according to incentives, desires, fear, ambitions, insecurities, and hunger. People do not simply act based on right and wrong. They act based on what benefits them, what comforts them, what protects them, what elevates them. To survive in such a world, your morality must be rooted in awareness, not idealism. You must know when to forgive and when to step away, when to show compassion and when to hold your distance, when to listen and when to speak. Morality is not a blanket rule you apply to every situation. It is a skill, one that must be sharpened through experience and sharpened again through reflection. An innocent morality believes that doing good always brings good in return. But strategic morality understands that the world is not a mirror. It is a marketplace. You give and others take. You support and others lean. You uplift and others stand on your shoulders. And if you are not careful, you will find yourself crushed under the weight of everyone you tried to help. Innocent morality destroys the giver. Strategic morality protects the giver while still allowing generosity to exist. Think of the person who always tries to fix everyone. They take on pain that is not theirs. They sacrifice time they need for themselves. They absorb emotional storms from people who refuse to grow. And at first, they feel noble, valuable, even needed. But slowly, their identity is replaced by obligation. The more they give, the less they are appreciated. The more they help, the more they are expected to help. Until one day, they wake up exhausted, unseen, unheard, and empty. Their goodness did not save them. It drained them. Machiavelli would say this person was not too good. They were strategically unprepared. They practiced morality without understanding power. They believed that love, kindness, and loyalty naturally inspire the same in others. But loyalty is inspired by value. Respect is inspired by presence. Love is inspired by strength. When morality is innocent, it assumes others will treat you as you treat them. But strategic morality watches how people act, not what they say. It understands patterns, it sees intentions, it recognizes when kindness is being taken advantage of and changes course without apology. To be strategically moral is to use your goodness where it can grow, not where it will be consumed. It is choosing relationships where respect flows in both directions. It is offering forgiveness to those who truly seek redemption, not to those who want another opportunity to hurt you. It is helping those who are willing to help themselves, not those who simply want to avoid responsibility. Strategic morality is choosing where your spirit flows, instead of letting anyone drink from it freely. If someone only values you when you give, stop giving. If someone only respects you when you sacrifice, stop sacrificing. If someone only stays when you make yourself small, let them leave. And if someone only loves you when you remain silent, speak louder, not for them, but for yourself. Strategic morality recognizes that your energy, your time, your loyalty, your forgiveness, and your compassion are resources, sacred resources. And resources must be allocated wisely. You do not owe your goodness to every hand that reaches for it. Not everyone deserves access to your heart. Not everyone has earned the privilege of your care. Machiavelli teaches that the strongest individuals are those who choose their morality rather than defaulting to it. They are good because they intend to be, not because they are incapable of being otherwise. They are kind because they understand the value of kindness, not because they fear confrontation. They are forgiving because they have the strength to move forward, not because they are afraid to let go. They can be gentle, but they can also be firm. They can be loving, but they can also withdraw. They can be open-hearted, but they can also close the gates when necessary. This is morality that is alive, morality that thinks, morality that protects, morality that does not fade under pressure, morality that does not turn into weakness the moment the world tests it. Morality must be chosen, not assumed. It must be shaped, not merely inherited. It must be protected, not exploited. Morality must be intelligent. Morality must be strategic. Morality must be yours. We began with a question the world rarely asks out loud. Why do the kindest hearts often suffer the most? And the answer, as Machiavelli revealed, is that goodness without strength becomes weakness. A person who is endlessly patient, endlessly forgiving, endlessly giving, becomes a person who is quietly consumed by those who have no intention of returning what they take. We learned that goodness can be a mask that others exploit when it is not guarded by boundaries. We saw that people respect power more than purity, and that the world follows those who carry themselves with certainty, not those who wait to be acknowledged. We understood that to protect what is good, one must sometimes act in ways that appear harsh, not out of cruelty but out of wisdom. And finally, we realized that morality is not meant to be innocent. It must be strategic, because a morality that does not protect you is not moral. It is a surrender. The world does not need you to become cold. It does not require you to abandon your compassion. It simply asks that you do not sacrifice yourself in the name of your kindness. Be the one who can be gentle but unbreakable, compassionate yet discerning, loving yet not blind, good but not vulnerable to those who twist goodness for their gain. Let your heart remain open, but let your spirit remain protected. For true goodness does not come from weakness. It comes from strength that chooses to be kind.